Okay, we've got our recording on. All right. So today we are speaking with Katie, and is it Schopp? Schopp? Schopp?
Shop.
Katie Schopp, one of our artists with the Artistry of ALS. Um, can I get you to introduce yourself to us? Just tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm Katie Schopp. I was diagnosed with limb onset ALS August 4th of 23, the day after my birthday. Um, and we are trying to get still acclimated to that. I was a nurse for 30 years and had to medically retire August of last year. Um, but I've always kind of been a little creative, I guess, just artsy. I like to paint. I like to make things, refinish furniture. But I also do my rocks. And this Christmas, I started doing some ornaments and actually was able to sell some of those. So that was really fun.
Excellent. So you were an artist before you were diagnosed with ALS.
Well, more of a do-it-yourself kind of thing. I wouldn't say like an official artist, but
There are so many people who discount themselves when they're talking about their art. If you put like artistry comes into every aspect, whether it's food or whether you're painting or whether you're sewing or
you're
whether you're a
right.
poet. And so many people think, well, I'm just not good enough. But that is the beauty of this show because you truly are good enough.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for being with us. So, how long have you been living with ALS?
This August will be 2 years,
Okay.
and there's been progression. I use or wear AFOs on both legs to walk and use a rollator at all times. To go out, I usually use a Jazzy or my big power chair. I had a feeding tube put in the end of February. I just started using that. Um, my speech is getting a little bit slower. My voice gets hoarse, lots of weakness and fatigue. Not much use of my left hand, and my right arm is getting weaker. So I don't know. My writing looks pretty rough lately. And it's funny, my older daughter, she asked me, she said, Mom, I need some more rocks, like the inspiration. And I said, babe, I don't know if I can do it right now. My handwriting isn't too good. So we'll see. I'll get back to it next week.
Good deal. So it may continue to change as things continue to progress.
Right.
The
Absolutely.
kind of artwork that you do on those rocks. There's a lot of
Right. It just
people
may
that
become more abstract.
maybe it's less writing, and maybe you're doing some stamping and
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of avenues to pursue with it that I've seen in the little rock painting community.
gotcha. Well, besides your artwork, can you tell me a little bit about something that else that you might be passionate about?
So my husband and I, it's been 6 years. We bought a house that was built in 1940, so it's almost 100 years old, and we have been slowly doing renovations. Him more than me now. I used to be able to help more. And so we've really, really enjoyed that. It's a conundrum because there's always something that needs to be done or fixed. The
Mm,
projects are never ending, but we also started keeping bees,
nice.
and we started that 2 years ago. Um, and it's been such a joy. I never knew that such tiny little creatures could be so fascinating. And then we just recently started keeping chickens.
Excellent. I share that hobby with you.
Oh, it's addictive.
It is. Chicken math is real, isn't it?
It is. I have three hens and then three baby chicks, and I probably go out there 4 to 8 times a day to check on it. I mean, it's just constant.
They are my constant joy. Every time I walk out the door, they come running for snacks.
Oh, yeah.
I was addicted to chicken. I was like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I had this kind of chicken? And wouldn't it be nice if I had that kind of chicken?
I know.
Um, and I bought what I thought were girls, and I ended up with four roosters in my household. Three roosters in the household are not good.
Oh, no.
Um, so I had to go through, finding new homes for roosters and all of that stuff. I've settled in. I have about a dozen birds right now, and they all seem to
That's
be
fantastic.
living happily. And now that it's warmer, I'm getting like 6 dozen eggs a week, and everybody's living their best life right now. So
That's so cool. I love it.
yeah, that along with a flock of cockatiels and then a dog and a cat. My hands are very, very full.
It's like a little farm.
Yeah.
All right, I would like to share my screen now. So this is a rock. Everything that you've done, it looks like it's got sayings on it. I'm going to kind of flip through some of these, but I love what you say here. Where helping one person might not change the whole world, but it could change the world for that one person. I'm having conversations like this on the daily with people. You can't
Yes.
solve all the world's problems. No, but I can
No,
solve
I
it.
know, but just a little bit. Just a little bit. It just takes one little step.
It's like that story about the starfish, the little kid throwing the starfish back into the ocean.
Mhm.
You can't save all the starfish. Oh, I helped that one.
Exactly.
I concur. And if you cannot find your way out of the darkness, I will sit there with you and show you the stars. That's beautiful.
Thank
I'm
you.
wondering if I can
That is lovely.
wondering if I can increase the view here. Oh, look at that.
Mhm.
Ding ding. And look at this collection. I will tell you too, my son loves finding these. We find them all over town. People do this and leave them for other people.
And I think it brings me probably more happiness and a sense of peace than it does for the people who find them.
Mm.
I hope that by doing this, it makes someone smile, that they just have a warm feeling in their heart and just to maybe make their day.
I mean, I'm just going to push back on that because every time I find one, I'm pretty happy. It's always a
I
pleasure.
know, me
And
too.
yeah, when I find them, I keep them out in the front door. We have like a little ledge next to our front door, so people who show up at our doorstep get to see
Oh,
them
yeah, that's
as
a neat
well,
idea.
right? So more and
Uh-huh.
more people get to see them.
So where do you leave them?
Usually wherever I go.
Mhm.
When I was still driving, I haven't driven since 2 weeks after Thanksgiving last year. I would keep a box in my car, and wherever I went, whether it be the gas station or grocery store or doctor's office, I would always leave one. Um, and it's neat because a couple places, like we have a school district office here down the road, and I put one there probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it's still there. They leave it by their door as they go in, and I actually went in and redid it and then put it back.
Oh, oh, that's wonderful.
These are all some really inspirational quotes as well.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you have a favorite one?
I can't say that I have a favorite because there's so many. I've done about over 400, I think now in the past few
Wow.
years. Um, but it started because my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 head and neck cancer. And I was having a very hard time coping, just trying to find out why this was. We had lost my brother almost 8 years ago now. And then my dad was diagnosed with cancer, and we didn't think he was going to make it. And I just had to find a way to process everything. So this was my outlet. Um, Kind of felt like a 12-year-old little girl, just, oh, let me go paint my rocks. But it really soothed my soul, and
Mm.
it just gave me a peace of mind.
Mm. And how long ago was that you started?
The rocks have been 4 years now.
Okay.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, 3 years.
Hmm.
But my dad is not cancer free. He's in remission, but I really attribute my starting that to him.
Hmm.
I'm really glad you found it. And I'm really glad that you're finding such purpose in it.
Me
Not
too.
only you're not only pleasing yourself either, you're pleasing everybody in your community when they find these.
I hope so.
I know you are, because I'm one of those people. Um, Tell me your favorite memory that you have about around creating art, whether it's these rocks or any other artistic project that you've ever worked on.
Um, I would actually have to go back to middle school, honestly. I was taking art classes then. I loved to paint, loved to draw, and we lived in Kentucky, and there was a big Coca-Cola bottling plant, and they were having an art display. And I remember I had painted this big Lifesavers bowl and used the silver on the ends, and I was so proud of it. It was nothing compared to a lot of the other kids in their artistry, but actually won a ribbon for it. And so that was pretty neat. It was a big event. My parents took us and we went and looked at all the displays, and that was just such a neat time for me.
Excellent. What form of art speaks to you the most?
Well, right now I would say it's the rocks. And using the different mediums I use, spray paint or acrylic paint, and then the markers, of course. And then you have to, it takes steps because you have to wait for the base paint to dry. You have to wash the rocks first, then you have to let them dry, then do the base paint. And then you do, like your flowers or your border, and you have to wait for that to dry. And then you can go back in and do your writing and wait for that to dry. And then seal it. So those are probably the mediums I'm using right now.
So do you think that process in and of itself is kind of therapeutic for you? Like you have a vision in your head, you got to think about what you're going to put on this rock, but then you have to just very slowly build it up until you get it to be what you want it to be.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of rocks that don't turn out that I wind up having to repaint the base layer multiple times because something may be off on the border, or I may forget a letter in a word inadvertently. So a lot of times I have to wind up redoing it a couple times.
Are you one of those artists that are hypercritical and it's never good enough?
Yes. Very much so.
I was going to say something tells me yes.
Yes, very much so.
I think I'm one of those people, and I kind of had to learn that good enough is good enough. Like it's worse if you take it apart and put it back together. Maybe not in the case of your rocks, but say,
No, it is.
you
Mhm.
know,
Absolutely. Because a lot of times I'm like, oh, I should have just left that because now it looks terrible.
yep. In our attempt to fix what's wrong, it ends up looking worse than if we had just let nature take its course with
Exactly.
our art. And trying to let yourself flow organically, whether it be with writing or painting or anything. I mean, obviously when you're building a house, when you're talking about construction, it has to be exact, right?
Oh,
But
sure.
art, mm-mm.
No, and I think art speaks to the individual that's creating it.
Mhm.
100%.
Where do you find your rocks?
I buy them at Lowe's.
Oh,
Oh.
okay. Do they
That
have
makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's
a
funny.
certain size, right?
Yeah, and,
Mhm.
and my husband will take me and I look for certain ones, kind of flat or less porous. And now that I'm not able to drive, if I'm out of rocks, I'll send my husband to the store, and it's funny because now he knows what to look for.
That's good.
So he just buys the bags in bulk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Excellent. I never would have thought to ask that question, but I mean, it makes perfect
I
sense.
know that's a
I've
good.
often wondered, where do people find these such great rocks?
Right.
I
That
know, and
makes
it's
perfect
funny.
sense.
We'll walk by rocks that are in like landscape or something, and I go,
Mhm.
"Gosh, those are so nice." You can't
Yeah.
take them because that's stealing.
That
So
is
Yeah.
somebody else's hard-earned rocks.
yeah.
Tell us one thing that you want people who are going to be viewing the show to know about you as a person.
Oh, goodness. I would say that I just want everybody to find joy in each day. That's really become a big, big purpose in my life. And my husband and I actually started counseling to learn to cope with the diagnosis and all the changes. And the therapist said, I want you to see what you can do to find joy in each day. And so, what I do now is I look for those little morsels, whether it be the clouds or my chickens or the bees or just a breeze that blows by. And you think, that made me happy, just that little moment. So it's finding for me the little moments despite the darkness that hovers over us.
Right. I would tell you on our journey, that was our focus as well.
Mhm.
Larry had FTD and he had bulbar ALS, and there was no treatment that we could give him
Yeah,
that he could take. And so that just stripped away all of the unimportant things. What are you left with? When you have a
absolutely.
diagnosis that you can't do anything about.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
are you going to live in despair every day? Or are you going to find the joy that you can find every single day?
Absolutely. And so many people, my friends will ask me, they're like, you're so positive. And I said, well, I have two choices. I
Yep.
could be negative and wallow in all of this, or I can choose to live my life and live ALS. Now, we're not great at that every day, but we certainly make a valiant effort to try to do that.
And that doesn't mean that you haven't had all of those other feelings, that you haven't fallen
Oh,
into
no.
despair, that you haven't
Right.
experienced and processed all of that stuff, because you absolutely have. But
Absolutely.
you can't live there.
No. And for me, we have chosen not to focus on what the future might be, what it could be, what it most likely will be.
Mhm.
I don't want to look at that. I want to look at the here and now.
Mhm.
And we are doing things, I guess you could say we're kind of crossing them off our bucket list.
Right.
Um, Trying to live. We went to Greece right after no, well, not long after I was diagnosed. And we right now we're doing what's called ABC dating. And so we pick a letter and we do something fun. And we took a cooking class recently, made our own pasta. So we're being more purposeful about living life.
That's excellent. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
So, what's one thing that you want people who are viewing your art or viewing this art show to know about your artwork?
Well, I think it reverberates back to helping someone feel good if they find it, to ignite a little spark in their heart that they can maybe pay it forward, that hopefully what I might put on the rock will inspire them to show kindness to someone else or help someone else to smile.
I think that's the beauty of these rock projects,
Mhm.
is that you are giving it to complete total strangers. You have no idea where
Mhm.
Right,
that rock is going to end up or who it's going to touch.
exactly.
Mhm.
I love that.
How many do you think you've done painted?
I think it's over 400.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's
Um,
awesome.
but
Did you
again,
take,
that's over the past three and a half
That's
years.
amazing.
are you photographing all of them now by chance?
I am. I
Good.
am. I take a picture of everyone and I have an album on my phone.
That is so excellent. I'm glad you have that.
Mhm.
Glad your
Thank
family has that too.
Yeah.
Um, so tell us, you told us a little bit about the purpose behind why you're doing what you're doing. What does it mean for you to be able to still produce art and share it with other people?
I think it's incredible that I'm still able to do that because I look at other pals and they're not as fortunate as I am. And that breaks my heart. So I hope that through this, I can do it for as long as possible and be motivated to do it. And like you said, even if it changes in the way that I work on the rocks, it may be just a brush stroke here and there eventually, but I think it's important for me to keep it going because it's like therapy for me.
I would encourage you as well to be thinking about, even beyond the I can't work on the rocks anymore. Like I told you the story about Brandy Trigona, who was very prolific and painted with a head mouse and a bite switch on the iPad notes program,
Yeah,
a picture, at least one every day. She also did more than 400 in over a year. And
that's
it wasn't just the images, it was the words that went with the images, just like the words that you put on your rocks.
oh, okay. I'll have to
So
check it out.
even when the rocks, even when the rocks have to be put aside, there's still a way for you to be able to share
Right, you're
your
right.
thoughts
I've
and your
been
joy.
I've been taking some classes through the ALS Association, and one of them is a visual arts class.
Oh,
And
good.
it's so neat. They send us the supplies. Everything's free, and it's usually one class a month or every couple of weeks for 4 classes. And that has been really, really fun. And to see all the other pals in there, and we share our artwork and the different types. There is a woman in there who uses eye gaze. She's nonverbal, and I just think, gosh, what an inspiration! How incredible that is.
Mhm. Yep. Can you tell us something that you've learned from your journey so far?
Hmm. I guess never say never. Never think that tomorrow is a given. Never think that this may not happen to you. Um, Never in a million years did I think that this is where my life would be at 53 years old. And it's hard. These are supposed to be the golden years with my husband. And, we're embracing a new idea of what that should be. Um, and it's fun, but it's scary. I'm not gonna lie. And it is a new navigation most days. I mean, for instance, the other day we were at an event and I was in my wheelchair and he kept walking in front of me and talking and I couldn't hear him. All I could see was his rear end. And I finally tapped him on the shoulder. I said, listen, I just need you to be beside me so I can talk to you. And he didn't know, and I didn't know.
Right.
So it's learning those little things um, that make each day a little bit of a challenge, but also we come out gracefully on the other side.
I think it's amazing how when you have a diagnosis like this, patient and caregiver just become a dyad. Like
Mhm.
you become one in ways that you never imagined you would become one.
Oh, absolutely.
You, the patient, there are things that you can no longer do. The caregiver has to do those things for you. There are things the caregiver can no longer do because they have to be there for the patient to do those things. You both are stripped down to just what's necessary.
Yes,
And all of the unnecessary stuff, the arguments, the fights, the worries about what seem like such trivial things right now, all just fall away.
absolutely.
And the most important things remain.
Yes,
Sure.
yes. And I'm blessed that my husband is my best friend, and
Mm.
he tries to make me laugh every day. He's sometimes like a little 12-year-old boy, but he does. He makes me laugh every day, and I couldn't ask for a better support system.
That makes my heart happy. I'm glad.
That's wonderful. That's
Thank
just
you.
wonderful.
Mhm. Okay, so I've asked a lot of questions. Caroline, Amy, I'm going to ask if you guys had any questions that you also wanted to ask. If there was anything that you wrote down that you wanted to.
No, No. Let me just make sure that I'm clear on this. So you were painting rocks before your diagnosis,
Yes.
right? Right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I started it as like I said, a coping mechanism to
Yes.
help me through my dad's cancer
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah.
And yeah, we never thought we'd be here.
Right. Right.
So, but it helps me get through, and I think I find so much pleasure in looking for quotes to put on rocks, or I'll see something and go, oh, that'll be a good rock, and I'll take a picture of it. I save it in an album of rock ideas, and it's kind of neat how the inspiration comes to fruition, because you'll see that and then you'll think, oh, this would be a neat border. So it's been a neat process.
So does each rock have a saying?
Yes, very rarely do I do just the artwork.
Okay.
Normally they all have sayings on them.
Mm-hmm.
I love these little rocks because they're, I'm big on positive affirmations. It's really easy for us to fall into a spot where we've got just this awful thought running through our head.
Right.
Replace that awful thought with a beautiful thought. It's a really great strategy for getting through difficult times.
Absolutely. And I think the more that I see these little sayings, the more they go through my head.
Mm-hmm.
And so that keeps me in a more positive aspect.
Amy, you were going to say something.
So when I looked at your work, one of the things, it's not so much a question, but I wanted to share with you, early in my career, I worked with a distributor and they always called me Ladybug. And they actually did
I love that.
a rock, and I wish I could, the back won't probably show up, but it has been on my desk for 25 years.
That's so cool.
So I wanted you to know that if you ever question what a difference that makes, you have somebody here who has had one on her desk for 25 years, because it just makes me smile every time I see it.
Oh,
And
I
it's so special to
love
me.
What does it say on the back, Amy?
So it actually so the artist did their signature, but it has the year 1999 on it.
Wow. That's so cool.
Excellent.
Yes,
Yep,
yes.
I'm here to tell
Oh,
you too. Those affirmation rocks, every time we find them, it's just like,
yes.
thank you, I needed this right now.
Well, it's a good outlet for me.
Mm.
Yes, and they're very rare.
Absolutely. It's not like you come across them every day. So when you do, woo!
Yeah.
Correct, correct.
So Katie, if there's a question that I didn't ask you that you would have asked me if you were interviewing me, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. I guess since your husband passed, what do you feel as a purpose? What do you work to find joy in?
Somebody asked me that question just this weekend when I went back home. Where do you find joy? And I find joy in my community. I find joy in my friends. I find joy in my family. His birthday was Tuesday. And I found joy in putting his picture out there and wishing him a happy birthday. And I find purpose in this work right here.
I love that.
There are so many people that are hurting in this world. And when we were hurting, people were there for us. And I want to be there for others as well. I want to be able to make a difference in their day, maybe in their journey. It might not be a long-term difference, but if I can make a difference today, I want to make that difference today.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that.
Didn't know I was going to go crying on this today. But thank you for my daily tear.
Oh,
We have to let it out.
Absolutely. You
We
can't
have to
bottle
share
it
it with
up.
everybody else. That's what life is about.
Absolutely.
Truly my purpose in all of this is, well, I need to find a purpose, right? There's some reason that this happened. I don't know what that reason was. We were young also. Larry was 56 when he was diagnosed, and I have, so much life to live. And
Right.
son who went through this journey with me has his whole life ahead of him.
mm, mm,
What do we learn from this experience? I think we learn what is important, and what is important is people.
Yes. I don't consider it a curse. Initially we did, but I think we see all the blessings that have come throughout this. I've made wonderful friends. Um, the ALS community is absolutely amazing. Um, the support groups, I found so many different avenues that I didn't even know existed before my diagnosis. And for that, I'm very thankful.
And when we spend all of our days being upset at the traffic and upset at this thing that happened and upset at that thing that happened, we are missing out on the beauty that is right in front of us. And that is one of the gifts with this journey, is that all of that is then illuminated. Look at everything that you have that's great, that's right in front of you.
I agree. And that it's like we talked about, that doesn't mean that there aren't tough days. There are very tough, terrible days.
And we don't ignore those things either.
No. So yeah, I've found a lot of blessings through all of this. And for that, I'm so, so thankful.
well, you're pretty.
Apologize for the dog.
Fine.
Katie, my hometown is Erie, Pennsylvania, on the lake, and I will be there this summer with the family that still is there. That's where my sister, before she passed, lived. She lived with ALS for 8 years, and the lake was her favorite place to go. So this summer, when I go there, I'm going to be looking. There are the most beautiful flat rocks everywhere on the shore.
Oh, how neat.
Everywhere. So I'm going to get some for you.
Oh, thank you.
And mail them to you. Yes.
We went to Greece a couple years ago, and we actually were on the beach there, and they have a beach with black rocks and a beach with red rocks, and we actually brought some home. And I didn't want to paint them for a long time because they were so special.
Yeah, I understand that.
I do too. I'm a rock lover. I have various little containers with the rocks, like in a vase, in a clear vase, so that you can actually see the actual rocks. And I know where I picked up every single one of them.
I know.
It's a tangible memory for me to be able to pick up one of those rocks.
Exactly.
Get transported right back to where I was on that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, be looking for some rocks from Erie, Pennsylvania.
I appreciate that. That's so sweet of you.